Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most influential philosophers of the 19th century, challenged many of the traditional concepts that had long governed Western thought. His ideas, often controversial and deeply provocative, call into question the fundamental nature of morality, individual identity, and existence itself. Throughout history, various philosophical traditions have emphasized self-discipline as a moral virtue. The Stoics, for instance, advocated for emotional restraint and rational control over impulses as a means to achieve tranquility and wisdom. Similarly, Immanuel Kant viewed self-discipline as a means of fulfilling moral duty, arguing that true freedom arises from obeying universal ethical laws established by reason. In both of these perspectives, self-discipline is framed as submission to an external authority, whether that be reason, duty, or societal expectations. Nietzsche, however, perceived these views as forms of passive obedience rather than genuine strength. He contended that traditional self-discipline often serves to suppress individuality and personal power. Nietzsche was particularly critical of moral systems that encourage self-denial and guilt, seeing them as tools wielded by the weak to control the strong. In his view, self-discipline should not mean merely conforming to external rules. It should be an active force, one that fuels personal growth and the creation of new values. Central to Nietzsche's philosophy is the concept of the will to power, which he presents as the fundamental driving force of life. This is not simply the desire for dominance over others, but rather an inner force that compels individuals to grow, create, and transcend limitations. For Nietzsche, true self-discipline is not about repressing desires. It is about channeling them into meaningful action. Instead of merely resisting temptation, one should cultivate strength, embrace challenges, and use personal struggle as a means of self-overcoming. This process transforms individuals from passive participants in life into active creators of their own destinies. The will to power, in Nietzsche's eyes, is not merely about self-improvement. It is about self-transcendence. For Nietzsche, true self-discipline is about mastering oneself, not submitting to external rules. It requires harnessing one's energy. Rather than suppressing desires, learn to direct them productively. Developing inner strength. Cultivate resilience, independence, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. Becoming a creator. Move beyond passive existence by actively shaping your world through art, philosophy, or personal achievements. Nietzsche saw this principle at work across various domains. Art and creativity. The greatest artists, thinkers, and innovators do not simply conform to existing norms. They break boundaries and create new paradigms of thought and beauty. Philosophy and ethics. Instead of adhering to imposed moralities, individuals must forge their own ethical frameworks based on personal strength and vision. Personal growth. Every person has the potential to push beyond their limitations, overcome hardships, and transform adversity into power. At the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy lies the idea of the Übermensch, the superior individual who rises above conventional morality and forges their own path. The term Übermensch was coined by Nietzsche in his work Thus Spoke Zarathustra, and it is often translated as Overman or Superman. The Übermensch is the ultimate goal of self-discipline, not mere obedience, but the ability to shape one's destiny. Unlike conventional individuals, the Übermensch does not simply follow societal rules, but creates their own values based on personal strength and creative will. To become an Übermensch, one must reject herd morality. Do not conform to societal norms just because they are widely accepted. Question everything, think independently, and challenge traditional values. Embrace struggle. Nietzsche believed that growth comes through hardship. Rather than avoiding discomfort, use it as a catalyst for self-improvement. Transcend guilt and resentment. Many moral systems instill guilt as a way of controlling people. Nietzsche urges us to rise above these emotional chains and affirm life without regret. Create meaning. Life has no inherent purpose. Meaning must be created. The Übermensch does not seek external validation, but instead defines their own purpose through will and creativity. One of the most profound aspects of Nietzsche's vision of the Übermensch is the idea of life affirmation. Rather than viewing suffering, hardship, and tragedy as evidence of life's meaninglessness, the Übermensch affirms all aspects of existence. In this way, the Übermensch rejects nihilism by refusing to succumb to despair, recognizing that even in the face of suffering, life offers an opportunity to shape one's character and define one's path. This life affirmation is encapsulated in Nietzsche's idea of the eternal recurrence, a thought experiment in which one imagines living one's life over and over for eternity, with every moment repeating itself infinitely. The Übermensch is the individual who, when confronted with this proposition, does not recoil in horror, but embraces the idea. By doing so, the Übermensch demonstrates an unshakable commitment to the creation of meaning, fully accepting that even in the face of suffering and hardship, life is worth living and affirming. In place of nihilism, Nietzsche proposes the creation of new values. Where traditional moral systems may have prescribed fixed values, good and evil, right and wrong, the Übermensch understands that values are not inherent in the universe, but are created through individual will and action. The Übermensch is one who, through their will to power, transcends conventional morality and constructs their own set of values that resonate with their deepest desires and capacities. For the Übermensch, values are not externally imposed, but self-fashioned, stemming from a deep connection to one's own instincts, creativity, and will to grow beyond one's current self. The Übermensch does not look to external authorities or established systems to tell them what is meaningful. Instead, they look inward, listening to their own instincts and desires to create a life that is rich with personal significance. In Nietzsche's view, the Übermensch is a heroic figure, one who lives life as a work of art, constantly creating, recreating, and shaping their identity in the face of challenges. The Übermensch does not seek easy answers or comforting illusions. They are willing to confront the rawness of existence, face suffering, and make meaning out of the very chaos that others may seek to avoid. The Übermensch embodies a spirit of self-mastery, mastery over one's desires, impulses, and even one's weaknesses, in order to live authentically and purposefully. This heroic path involves continuous self-overcoming, an ongoing process of growth and self-improvement. The Übermensch is not a static figure, but one who constantly evolves, tests new boundaries, and expands their horizons. They live in a state of constant becoming, not being. They understand that meaning is not something that is simply discovered, but must be created, shaped, and lived.